In the silence of the sun-scorched plains, where the horizon shimmered like a mirage, and the wind whispered secrets through canyon walls, tales took root, tales of gold that glinted beneath riverbeds, of outlaws who buried fortunes they would never return for, of maps inked in blood and misremembered landmarks. They are the stories too strange to be dismissed, too persistent to be ignored. Legends, yes, but legends that refuse to die. For in the unexplored folds of the American West, where myth and memory overlap like worn saddle leather, treasure lies not only in metal, but in the pursuit itself. And some treasures, perhaps, still sleep beneath the dust, waiting for the right boots to pass above them. The year was 1863, and the Civil War, with all its fury and heartbreak, had begun to fracture not only the Union, but the loyalty of men. Into this crucible of violence and divided purpose stepped a Confederate captain named John Singleton Mosby, a man whose name would echo through Virginia valleys and Union nightmares. Yet far from those eastern battlegrounds, in the lawless territories beyond the Mississippi, another legend was quietly being born, one that had little to do with glory or country, and everything to do with gold. According to whispered accounts passed down from campfire to saloon, Mosby had, near the war's end, intercepted a Union payroll shipment rumored to contain 350,000 in gold coinage, equivalent to millions today. Outnumbered and outgunned, he knew he couldn't take it far. So the story goes, he buried the cash somewhere in the hills of Virginia, possibly near the town of Culpeper, marking the spot with a cryptic arrangement of stones or a carved tree that time has long since erased. After the war, Mosby reportedly sent a trusted lieutenant to retrieve it. The man was ambushed, hanged by vigilantes, and the secret died with him. There are those who dismiss the Mosby Treasure as Confederate fantasy, a soldier's story bloated by Southern romanticism. But documents have surfaced, letters, battlefield reports, even coded journals attributed to Mosby's men. These writings, though fragmented, hint at a strategy more financial than martial. Starve the Union from within by capturing and hiding its resources. Decades later, locals claim to have seen strangers with shovels and lanterns roaming the woods at dusk, following old trails that twisted like veins through the foothills. No treasure was ever found, but somewhere beneath the roots and loam, the past may still pulse with its hidden breath. Southwest of there, in the jagged desolation of Arizona's Superstition Mountains, another story coils tighter around the line that separates myth from memory. The lost Dutchman's gold mine, perhaps the most enduring and lethal of all Wild West treasure legends, has claimed not just hope, but lives. The tale begins with a German immigrant named Jacob Waltz, known locally as the Dutchman for reasons lost in translation. In the 1870s, Waltz appeared in Phoenix with sacks of exceptionally pure gold ore. He claimed it came from a mine hidden deep within the Superstitions, a mine revealed to him by either a dying Mexican prospector or a native guide. Accounts vary, but all end with betrayal, blood, and silence. Waltz never gave up the location. On his deathbed in 1891, he is said to have described a trail marked by stone crosses, shadow canyons, and a hidden entrance accessible only at certain times of day when the sun hit the rock just right. Searchers came quickly, armed with shovels, compasses, and hope, They left in silence, or not at all. Over a dozen seekers have died in those mountains, some from thirst, others from falls, and at least one reportedly murdered. Skeptics argue that no such mine ever existed, that Waltz perhaps scavenged his gold from abandoned Spanish claims, or smelted it from stolen ore. But still, they search. Even now, the Bureau of Land Management receives reports of people vanishing into the superstitions. Hikers speak of strange symbols etched into rocks, of voices echoing through dead-end arroyos, of the uncanny feeling that something ancient watches them. Not all treasure was gold. Some was silver, and some, far rarer, was born of betrayal. In 1877, the outlaw Jesse Evans and his gang rode into the Lincoln County War, not for politics or land, but for the payroll shipments that fueled the bitter New Mexico feud. In the chaos of gunfights and shifting alliances, it said the gang stole a strong box, filled with coins and bullion from the Murphy-Dolan faction, then vanished into the Capitan Mountains. When Evans was later captured in Texas and imprisoned, he reportedly offered to lead authorities to the loot in exchange for a pardon. They refused. To this day, hikers and treasure hunters scour the cliffs and ravines around Bonito Lake, claiming to find remnants, rusted buckles, horseshoes, even the charred remains of a camp. But the silver has never surfaced. Some claim it was melted down and spent, others that it was hidden in a cave sealed by a rock slide, and still others believe it was cursed, tainted by the blood of the Tunstall and McSween families whose deaths had paid for it. Perhaps the most chilling of these stories does not begin with a robbery, but with a massacre. In 1846, a party of Mexican soldiers escorting mule trains of gold and silver was ambushed in the desolate Jornada del Muerto, Journey of the Dead Man, a bleak stretch of New Mexico desert. According to survivors, the treasure, meant as payment to Mexican forces resisting U.S. expansion, was hastily buried in shallow graves before the soldiers were overwhelmed. Bones and spent cartridges were found years later, but no treasure. Modern metal detectors have scanned the region for decades, hindered by shifting dunes and the near-featureless landscape. One document recovered from the ruins of a nearby mission describes a desperate effort by a wounded officer to draw a crude map, using stars and constellations to mark a burial site. Astronomers and historians have tried to decode the positions, aligning 19th century sky charts with modern GPS. So far, they've found only sand, but the desert forgets, slowly, and perhaps, under the right moon, the shadows might align once more. Then there is the tale of Thomas Beale, a Virginian adventurer, who, in the early 1800s, allegedly discovered a vast fortune of gold and silver in the Rocky Mountains while on a hunting expedition. Beale supposedly buried the treasure in Bedford County, Virginia, and left behind 3 coded messages detailing the contents, location, and list of heirs. Only one of the ciphers has ever been cracked, and it reveals nothing but the inventory of the trove. The Beale papers, published in 1885, ignited a frenzy. Scholars, code breakers, and conspiracy theorists have spent lifetimes trying to solve the remaining ciphers. Some claim they were hoaxes created to sell pamphlets. Others insist that the codes were legitimate but lost their key when Beale disappeared. The story is a literary ouroboros, one that feeds on mystery itself. Yet each new attempt at decryption gives birth to another generation of believers, convinced that with the right method, or perhaps a machine learning algorithm, they will crack the code and find the fortune that has waited 2 centuries in silence. But what drives these stories? Why do they endure in a world where satellites map every hill and database catalogs every coin? It is because the treasure is not the metal. It is the myth. The promise that beyond the fences and asphalt of our modern lives, the land still holds secrets. That in the right canyon, on the right morning, you might find a hollow in the earth, and inside it, a truth no textbook can offer. The Wild West was not merely a place. It was an era, a fever dream of risk and reward, of men and women carving destiny from wilderness. And in its long, lonely wake, it left behind more than bones and broken wagons. It left riddles. And perhaps, just perhaps, some of those riddles still wait to be solved.